Hey, I'm Angela Ruth Strong. I'm a writer, and this is my second week of doing my unedited writing year. So you are welcome to join me, get the book and do it for yourself, or you can just listen to me share my favorite exercise from the week every Monday, and you could play along. This one's super fun because it is number 9, create your bucket list. And this was really fun for me because I did it on my anniversary. And my husband and I went out to dinner that night. And I said, so honey, I wrote a bucket list today. I want you to see if you can guess all the things on my bucket list. He got the first one, which was a trip to Israel. I've wanted to go to Israel ever since my son was in kindergarten. And I basically did his project for him because kindergartners don't really do research projects on countries. So he picked Israel and then I did it, and I was just fascinated. I've had friends come go to Israel and show me their pictures of getting baptized in the Jordan River, and my aunt and uncle brought me back a scarf from Israel, which is pretty cool. I'm hoping to go with them someday. Number 2, I thought my husband would guess this one since I've talked about it so much, but he did not. And it's a Costa Rican monkey tour. Every time we hear Costa Rica, he looks at me and he knows that I want to go to Costa Rica. So we kind of have fun with that one. Number 3, smuggle Bibles into Cuba. Yes, that's on my bucket list, and it's been on my bucket list. I think I was in my early 20s when I heard about somebody who'd smuggled Bibles into Cuba, and they don't kill you or put you in prison. They just keep the Bibles if they catch you and then send you home with them rather than let you taking them into the country. So I like the idea because it's not life-threatening and it can spread the word of God around the country. And I have a friend whose dad smuggled Bibles into a country where you can get imprisoned, and they checked his luggage and they couldn't see the Bibles. Like, nobody could see the Bibles that were in there. And when they got to their apartment, they opened up their luggage and it was full of Bibles. So they like God made them invisible. So I would love to be a part of a miracle like that. When we play it safe, we don't get to. But I'm gonna start safe with Cuba. Number 4, ride a Harley down 101, and that's the freeway that goes along the West Coast. It's beautiful. We've driven along parts of it, but not on a Harley. And we got our Harley a few years ago. I have lots of bucket list trips that I'd like to make on the Harley, but I think we'll start with the 101. Number 5, get a book made into a movie. I debated between that and New York Times bestseller. Like, how do you decide if you're setting a goal for yourself, which is better? Maybe because I've always lived on the West Coast, I'm more drawn to Hollywood than New York. I don't know. But I also debated about whether putting it on my list or not, because I feel like when you're making a list of goals, it should be things that you can actually accomplish, that you are capable of doing. So, for example, if I want to get a book made into a movie, I should research, I should learn, I should make contacts, I should go to conferences where I get an opportunity to pitch producers. Those are things I could do. So really, if I was to be honest about my bucket list, those would be the things on it, with hopefully, the possibility of someday getting a book made into a movie. Number 6, I didn't want to just do trips. I wanted to do other things so I can make a difference in the world and not just take advantage of enjoying the world. And so I put down, I want to mentor Gem Friends. And Gem Friends is an organization here in Boise. And I don't know exactly what gem means, except that Idaho is the gem state. So maybe it has something to do with that. But Gem Friends is started to support teenagers who age out of foster care. So they have nowhere to go. They have no support behind them. They're just on their own. A lot of them end up in prison. Most of them don't go to college, maybe don't even graduate high school. And so there's an organization here that helps house them, brings them meals, sets them up with mentors, helps them pursue goals. And so that's something that was really on my heart. I took a mentorship class before I was diagnosed with cancer. So now that I don't have cancer anymore, when I wrote the bucket list and I wrote that down that I want to mentor Gem Friends, I immediately took action, and I emailed Gem Friends and said, hey, I'm ready to get back into mentoring. What do I do? And they said, start with volunteering. So I said August 20th, I can bring a meal. So I'm hoping that'll be the beginning of pursuing that item on my bucket list. Number 7, and this is a dream that my husband and I share together. We really want a cabin. We'd like to retire to a cabin, probably here in Idaho, because Idaho rocks, and there's some really beautiful areas with lots of outdoorsy things to do. So on the way to doing that, we want to get a camper and get some property and just keep the camper there until we're ready to retire and build our cabin. So lots of dreams. That's a fun dream that we share together because we have such different interests. It's fun to have things that we can work towards together. Number 8, kayak to Shoshone Falls. That's here in Idaho too. So that's something I could check off a little bit easier than going to Israel. I didn't even know you could kayak to the base of Shoshone Falls. I've been to Shoshone Falls and I hadn't seen any kayakers. But then I read a book by my friend Janine Roche. Oh, I hope I didn't butcher your name, Janine. But her book has a character who travels all around and does all kinds of things for a show, kind of like this one that you're watching now, but cooler. And the book is called This Wandering Heart, and she goes and kayaks to the base of Shoshone Falls. So when I read that, I was like, that's in Idaho. I can do that right now. But then I researched, and it's a 6-hour round trip. I'd just gone through surgery where I wasn't supposed to paddle at all. So I decided to work my way up to that. And I started with a smaller trip earlier this year. Number 9, I want to take a world trip with each of my kids. I want them to know that there's more in the world than just what revolves around their lives. I want them to see the bigger picture and be more in awe of God's creation and the people who live around the world. So I have taken a couple trips. My son, we took to Vegas, which was there's some interesting people there too. But we went for the Pac-12 basketball championship, which he's really passionate about. So I would like to take him on another world trip, probably to Germany. He has a German heritage and studied German. So maybe when he graduates college, we'll do that. And then last year I took my oldest daughter. We went to England and France, which was so amazing. I'd never been to Europe. So that was a great experience for both of us. Lots of good memories there. And Lauren is going to graduate at the end of this year, and she's looking at her options. So I'm trying to influence her to go to a place that I would enjoy, but I will just enjoy going with her wherever she wants to go. And last, number 10, if I can read my writing. I want to put a play set in my backyard for my grandkids that I don't have yet. But Jim and I have been working in the backyard, and we took out the hot tub, and I was like, that would be a great place for a play set for grandkids. And he's like, you realize we don't have grandkids yet, right? But one day I will get to have grandkids, hopefully. And I want to be the coolest, funnest grandma ever with the play set. And I don't know, this Star Wars room. Wouldn't that be a cool room for grandkids to come stay in? This is my husband's dream childhood room. That is now our guest room. But anyway, those are on my bucket list. I'm sure there's lots more ideas. Like our church was supposed to go on a trip to the Philippines this summer, and they were going to have a mass wedding for a bunch of couples that couldn't afford to get married in the Philippines. In the Philippines, it costs $50 through the government to get your marriage license, and that's more than they usually make in a month. So there was a bunch of sponsors from our church that were going to sponsor couples and then have one big wedding where they all get married together. Because of COVID, they weren't able to go over, but our pastor's son was there, and he stayed there through some of the COVID issues. I'm editing this, so maybe I'll edit that part out later, the COVID issues. But he got to be there, and we watched a video this last Sunday of they did single weddings. The couples were still sponsored, but they couldn't do the big mass wedding, so they individually got married. And I just thought, I love weddings. So, I mean, if I could do something like that too, it would be a beautiful thing. So I hope you have lots of dreams that you're pursuing. My advice about pursuing dreams, and if you want to live a bucket list life, is to always choose what you want most over what you want in the moment. And that can be one of the hardest things we have to do because we're so focused on how we feel in the moment and what we need in the moment, and that can keep us from pursuing our dreams and goals. So I want to wish you the best. I'd love it if you'd share your bucket list, one of your bucket list items here, or join me on this whole writing adventure. So thanks, guys.